Hello PSI gamer fans, and welcome back to Rimworld. We are continuing from where we left off last time. You can see that we have coated the majority of our base with stone tiles, and also you can clearly see that Shepard has his friend McTodd. In addition to this, there is also still the forced rainy thunderstorm. It will continue going on for a couple more days. You can see that McTodd's ending the day by taking some corpses to the butcher table. I am then creating a stockpile zone outside and using it to store all the tainted apparel that we've been collecting. When you butcher a human corpse, it drops all the clothing it's wearing. However, people do not like wearing clothing that comes from dead people, so we will be putting it outside to deteriorate. The following morning, there is trouble when a raider shows up wielding a steel club. However, I am not super concerned about this raid. As you can see, she only has a level 1 melee skill, so I highly doubt she will be doing us any damage. A couple hours after they arrive, the solitary raider is beginning their assault. So let's see how Shepard and McTodd manage to deal with this. Shepard, with his gun and high shooting skill, goes out and ducks behind some rocks to see if he can get a good shot in. McTodd waits in the doorway in case it becomes more of a melee-oriented fight. The raider comes to the door, Shepard tries to take another shot, misses, and she falls to one of the spike traps. After the results of that raid, I am now having Shepard and McTodd work to up our defenses a little bit. If that had been more than one person, it could have been potentially pretty bad, considering they could have gotten right past our traps and gotten to do us damage. I'm having McTodd carve out a bit of a tunnel, and I'm having Shepard build a room so that the raiders all get locked into one area. This room will also double as a bit of a workshop to cut stone in, so they don't get a work speed penalty for being outside. I will also be using this workshop room as a bit of an overflow storage, since the current stockpile room is at capacity. And a quick check of the stockpile can show that we actually might have a bit of a problem on our hands. During the summertime in the ice sheet, since we live in a rather warm ice sheet if you will, it gets a bit above freezing point, and that means that our meat might start going bad. So we are going to have to build a cooler to keep everything cold. After finishing the defensive tunnel, Shepard heads north to get more steel, and then brings it back to the base to finish the cooler. Next morning, we can see we have a bit of good news, as the weather controller is no longer changing the weather. That means there will no longer be a forced rainy thunderstorm, and we will go back to the snow that we are all used to. Then, to further bolster our defenses, I will have Shepard construct some sandbags in front of the base. And before we can actually do this, a manhunting pack of rats has entered the area, and, at the same time, in true Randy Random fashion, McTodd has gotten sick from the plague. Before she can receive any plague treatment, however, we are going to have to fight off these rats. Shepard tries to take some shots to get rid of the rats, but as they are quite small, he has a hard time getting to hit them. He has to retreat, and then when he steps through the door, one of the rats falls to our other trap, and McTodd clubs the other one to death. McTodd can now receive medical attention for her plague. I will not be giving her medicine for this immediately, however, if it gets too bad, we might start giving her some herbal medicine. On the topic of herbal medicine, I will also be switching one of the hydroponics basins to healroot plants. Because you only need 2 hydroponics basins of rice to support one person, we can easily afford, with all the meat we have, to make one of the hydroponics basins grow medicine instead. Of course, this medicine will not be grown right away, as McTodd is the only one with a high enough plant skill to grow it, and she is currently resting from the plague. That night, I have Shepard do a bit of work in the hydroponics basins. He is incredibly bad at his job of harvesting the plants, however, I don't want to force McTodd to do any work while she's sick if she doesn't have to. On the topic of McTodd's illness, I will be giving her another treatment, but this time with herbal medicine, as the spread of the plague is slightly outpacing the immunity gain. And as McTodd's plague progresses into extreme stages, Randy Random sends us a psychic drone. However, even though her plague reached very extreme levels and she briefly was unable to walk, McTodd actually manages to survive just fine. With her plague out of the way, McTodd can now get up and get back to gardening. First thing she will do is plant some healroot plants, so that next time she gets the plague, it might not be as bad. The next day, we can see that McTodd has passed a bit of a milestone. Her cooking skill has reached level 6, meaning she can now prepare fine meals from both meat and vegetables. This means that she can combine rice and human meat to make much higher quality meals than she could before, which will prevent Shepard and McTodd from having any kind of mental breakdowns, hopefully. Immediately afterwards, we receive a quest called the Proud Red Fox. The quest is very simple. We just have to take care of a fox for 16 days. Now, foxes don't eat very much. I'm pretty sure they eat less than a human, so I think we should easily be able to feed a fox. I accept the quest for the goodwill, because I like being friends with the Empire, and then I make an area to make sure the fox doesn't go outside and get eaten. With that out of the way, McTodd is now going to try her hand at making some fine meals. To get her hands on some meat, she's going to go to the butcher table in the adjacent room and chop up one of the fallen raiders from earlier. She is then going to go back to the stove with some of the meat and some rice and create a high quality meal. She is then going to immediately enjoy her meal. That night, summer has begun, and this means that Shepard has officially survived for an entire year on the ice sheet. And if you are wondering, McTodd has been out here for 22 days. That morning, Shepard then finishes a very large research project that he's been working on for a few days now. He figures out how to produce geothermal generators. These are much more efficient than wind turbines, and should be able to almost completely power our base just on their own. The only problem is they cost a whopping 340 pieces of steel and 8 components. The components are manageable, but the steel will have to be mined for. Of course, to power the geothermal generator, we also need some kind of steam geyser, so of course we will be using the steam geyser house that Shepard used to live in. It's a bit sad to see Shepard tear apart the house, but I think it's for a good cause. We also receive a message of a transport pod crash right outside our base. Now, the person inside is not quite that interesting. She does have some nice clothing, so of course McTodd is going to carry her back to the yard and then steal it. We are then notified of a group of visitors coming to our colony, and they seem to have a couple items for sale. Let's find out if Shepard, with his level 0 social skill, can make some kind of a deal. It is at this moment that the fox that we are supposed to be watching after gets sick from the plague. This seems a little scary, but I'm pretty sure that foxes and most animals have a higher immunity gain speed than humans, so I think with maybe a couple pieces of herbal medicine, the fox should be fine. Now we can see here that the traders don't have anything particularly useful for sale. However, they will buy all of our old clothing for some reason, and Shepard can get $9 out of the deal. The following day we then receive a bit of good news, as Lek, the refugee that we hosted at our base for a couple of days last episode, has actually contacted us and sent us a reward for helping her. She has sent us 4 Glitter World medicine, which will be quite useful, as medicine, especially high-quality medicine, can be quite rare out on the ice sheet. Before hauling back the medicine, of course, though, Shepard is going to finish constructing the wall that he's building around the geothermal generator. Since the generator is out in the open, I would not want it to be susceptible to any enemies damaging it or possibly even destroying it, since it is rather expensive to build. So we will be sure to put some stone walls around it just to prevent any kind of damage. Shepard will then go to the north to gather more steel, and he will then start gathering the steel nearby where the geothermal generator will be constructed. We've now got a bit more trouble headed our way, as there are 2 tribespeople approaching. And these people seem to be a bit more combat-oriented than the last raider. The person with a knife has a melee skill of 6, and the person with a bow has a shooting skill of 7. So these people might be a bit of a challenge. Like usual, I position Shepard right across from the pond and see if he can get any preemptive shots in. And despite getting 2 good shots in on the enemies, Shepard gets 2 arrows right into his torso. This could be bad because he is bleeding very heavily now, and we still have to fight off the raiders before he can give himself medical attention. McTodd manages to distract the tribesperson with a knife long enough to have Shepard take him down. However, she does get stabbed in the leg in the process. Not wanting to waste any food, Shepard does pursue the fleeing tribesmen. However, he manages to escape all of Shepard's bullets and runs away. Shepard then goes back home and patches himself up with the 2 remaining pieces of herbal medicine that we have. Then afterwards, he goes to patch up McTodd's knife wound. After that, the Ice Sheet cannibals go to bed to rest off their injuries. McTodd manages to recover from her injury pretty quickly. However, Shepard will have to rest for a bit longer to be fully healed. In the afternoon, McTodd can harvest the first batch of herbal medicine from the healroot crop in our hydroponics basin. This will give us 4 herbal medicine for any potential illnesses or injuries that someone might suffer. That evening, Shepard finishes recovering from his injuries, and he goes to put a floor down in the remainder of McTodd's room. Of course, with Randy Random, there's often little time to rest, as the following morning, a pack of manhunting chickens arrive and start charging towards the base. Since these are only chickens, I'm guessing this can be a Shepard-only kind of ordeal, so Shepard wanders out to the pond area and readies his bolt-action rifle. Despite Shepard's above-average shooting skill, it is still quite hard to shoot a chicken that is running at you, and he has a very hard time hitting one. Although luckily, he can outrun a chicken, so he manages to kite the chickens around until they lose interest in him and start heading into the base after McTodd. One of the chickens falls to a steel trap, and the other one starts heading her way. McTodd steps inside to avoid getting into any kind of melee fight, and Shepard is able to shoot the chicken from around the corner. Later that day, an exotic goods trader pays a visit to Shepard and McTodd at their base. Exotic goods traders tend to sell pretty expensive items, so it's not likely that Shepard will be able to buy anything from them. However, he will still talk to them to see what they have for sale. Just as I expected, they have nothing that Shepard can afford, as he only has $91. By the evening, Shepard has a large stockpile of steel right outside where the geothermal generator will be constructed. Of course, before he can construct it, he will also need to grab components, and after the construction, he will need to build a large power conduit to connect it to the base. And there we have it, the geothermal generator has been completed, so once it's connected to the base's power grid, it should be able to sufficiently supply them with power for a long time. Late that night, Shepard then gets sick from the flu. This isn't particularly a big deal due to our medicine production that we've started up on. However, he will have to rest for the next couple days, so it'll be up to McTodd to make sure everything is running smoothly. Now, McTodd only has a construction skill of level 5. However, power conduits are very cheap and easy to build, so I thought I would give McTodd a little bit of construction practice while Shepard rests off his flu. She's going to start by deconstructing the wind turbine outside Shepard's house. We won't be needing those for much longer. She's then going to use the steel that she got from deconstructing it to start building the power lines. And despite her low construction skill, she doesn't mess up very much. The following morning, we receive a quest referred to as the Dusty Nomad. A desperate refugee named Miranda is approaching, and she would like to stay at our place for 10 days. I'm not going to accept this immediately, but depending on how things are going, I may accept it in the next episode. After cooking some food for everybody, McTodd then goes out with the remainder of the steel and manages to finish the power line connecting the geothermal generator. With that out of the way, we should not have to worry about power for a long time, until we get more electric workstations, or rooms to heat, I don't think power supply will be any kind of issue anytime soon. McTodd then spends the rest of her day cutting and sowing rice plants, and Shepard manages to overcome his flu. Now that Shepard is up and can do work again, I think it's about time we start another research project. So Shepard will sit back down at the research bench and start researching smithing. Smithing is not extremely useful for us, however, smithing must be completed in order to unlock machining, which will be a game changer in that it will allow us to produce guns. In the evening, we then receive an offer to host a person at our town. However, this time, we will be hosting them for 24 days. This seems like a much better quest than the other one. To put it into perspective, when we hosted Lek for however many days we hosted Lek for, we only received 4 Glitterworld medicine for our efforts. However, if we were to host Lynx for 24 days, we could receive 12 Glitterworld medicine. To me, this seems kind of like a no-brainer considering the amount of food we're producing, so I accept the quest for the Glitterworld medicine. This, of course, means that we will not be accepting the other quest to host Miranda. In order to give Lynx a place to rest, we will make her a bedroll out of human leather and put it in the stone-cutting room. It's not the most high-quality place to sleep, but since she's not one of us, she gets what she gets. I also assign Lynx to the same allowed area that the fox is assigned to, just so she doesn't accidentally get hurt if she goes outside. Randy Random then gifts us with another quest, however this one I'm not so sure about. People would like us to lend one colonist for 14 days. However, I would like to think that both of our colonists play kind of a crucial role in keeping the base well maintained. Without Shepard, we would have a very hard time defending the base, and without McTodd, we'd have a hard time making food to feed ourselves with. I think I'm just going to let this offer expire because the rewards are not great. And while a flash storm is striking the ice sheet, Shepard manages to finish mining the vein of steel to the north, and he can start hauling that back with McTodd's help. In the morning, Shepard then figures out the secrets of smithing. We aren't going to be using smithing for anything, however, this does allow Shepard to research machining as his next project, which will be quite useful. And to me, that seems like a great place to end things for this episode. We have discovered 2 new technologies throughout this video, and we have solved a bit of an issue with our power supply, so we will now have power even when the wind isn't blowing. We also have upgraded our defenses a little bit so that incoming raids might not be as hard in the future. I thank you all for watching to this point in the video, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like and perhaps subscribe to my channel. It really helps. And with that, I'll see you all next time. Bye.